Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev. Hey Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhachakacharya Shila Astutar, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Yamuna Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vicha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Hare Krishna, good morning. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, which is entitled The Status Quo, and we're reading Chapter 5, and Text 15. It's Vidura's talks with Maitreya. So I think I made a mistake. I prepared for 3:15. But anyway, I'll try to repeat whatever I've heard from all the previous speakers and what I've read from Srila Prabhupada's books, following in the line of the Guru Parampara, and I seek the blessings of all the devotees that I can speak something that is beneficial to all of us and especially for my self-purification. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Is it 3:15 on the board? Oh, 3:5. Would you be able to put Prabhupada's book on 3:5:15? Thank you. Tadasya Kausharava Sharmadatur Tadasya Kausharava Sharmadatur Hare Katham Eva Kathasu Saram Udritya Puspebhya Ivarta Bandho Shivayana Kirtaya Tirtha Kirte Tadasya Kausharava Sharmadatur Katham Eva Kathasu Saram Udritya Puspebhya Ivarta Bandho Shivayana Kirtaya Tirtha Kirte. Please chant. Tadasya Kausharava Sharmadatur Eva Kathasu Saram Udretya Pushpebhya Ivarta Bandho Shivaya na kirtaya tirtha kirte Tadasya Kaushalava Sharmadatur Hare Katham Eva Katha Susaram Ujritya Pushpebhya Ivarta Bandho Shivaya na Kirtaya Tirtha Kirte. Ladies. Tadasya Kaushalava Sharmadatur So I checked the roster again. Definitely Mukunda Maharaj did give 3:15:14. So today is 3:15:15. So whoever wrote the verse, I think they made a mistake. It's supposed to be 3:15:15. So I'll just read that. So the chapter 15 is entitled Description of the Kingdom of God, because we just read previous chapter was about Diti and how she approached Kashyapa Muni. So the next chapter is describing the description of the Kingdom of God, because that's where the fall down of Jaya and Vijaya, and they became the sons of Diti as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So I'll just read the verse. Text 15. It's Yatra Chadya Puman Aste Bhagavan Shabda Gochara Sattvam Vishtabhya Virajam Svanam No Mridayan Vrisha. Word for word. Yatra, in the Vaikuntha planets. Cha, and Adya, original. Puman, person. Aste, is there. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shabda Gochara, understood through the Vedic literature. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Vishtabhya, accepting. Virajam, uncontaminated. Svanam, of his own associates. Na, us. Mridayan, increasing happiness. Rishaha, the personification of religious principles. In the Vaikuntha planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original person and who can be understood through the Vedic literature. He is full of the uncontaminated mode of goodness, with no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes religious progress for the devotees. Please repeat. In the Vaikuntha planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original person and who can be understood through the Vedic literature. He is full of the uncontaminated mode of goodness, with no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes religious progress for the Devotees. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The kingdom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in the spiritual sky, cannot be understood by any process other than hearing from the description of the Vedas. No one can go see it. In this material world also, one who is unable to pay to go to a far distant place by motorized conveyances can only understand about that place from authentic books. Similarly, the Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky are beyond this material sky. The modern scientists who are trying to travel in space are having difficulty going even to the nearest planet, the moon, to say nothing of the highest planets within the universe. There is no possibility that they can go beyond the material sky into the spiritual sky and see for themselves the spiritual planets, Vaikuntha. Therefore, the kingdom of God in the spiritual sky can be understood only through the authentic descriptions of the Vedas and Puranas. In the material world, there are three modes of material qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance. But in the spiritual world, there is no trace of the modes of passion and ignorance. There is only the mode of goodness, which is uncontaminated by any tinge of ignorance or passion. In the material world, even if a person is completely in goodness, he is sometimes subjected to be polluted by tinges of the modes of ignorance and passion. But in the Vaikuntha world, the spiritual sky, only the mode of goodness in its pure form exists. The Lord and his devotees reside in the Vaikuntha planets, and they are of the same transcendental quality, namely Shuddha Sattva, the mode of pure goodness. The Vaikuntha planets are very dear to the Vaishnavas, and for the progressive march of the Vaishnava towards the kingdom of God, the Lord himself helps his devotees. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhutale Shrimati Krishna Goswami Mine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Mine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vishnu. So thank you for coming and welcome Indranila and Nadia. They're coming from off the farm and driving in, so thank you for coming. So today's purport is talking about the Vaikuntha planets. So who remembers yesterday Mukunda Maharaj was talking about the Vaikuntha planets. What does Vaikuntha mean? Kuntha, pardon? Yes, without anxiety. So the Vaikuntha planets are without anxiety. And that's the big difference between the material planets and the spiritual planets. So here it said that the modern scientists are trying to travel in space, having difficulty even going to the nearest planet, the moon, to say nothing of the planets within the universe. So Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a small book which is entitled Easy Journey to Other Planets. And there's a picture of a yogi, he's sitting in meditation, and then you can see that his life is, and his soul is passing through, and then entering his, the highest chakra, the head chakra, and then the crown, and then he's leaving to go to a higher planet. So from that we can understand, Prabhupada talks about, we can't mechanically enter into another planet. In the material world, we can try to force entry into another country, but in the spiritual world, we can't force our way through, and we can't barge in or bulldoze our way in. It is by sincere devotional service that we can enter the spiritual kingdom. And in the translation and purport, Prabhupada is emphasizing that Krishna contributes to the religious progress of his devotees. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that is by the hearing process, by the 9 processes of devotional service, starting with Shravanam and Kirtanam. So Shravanam means hearing. So we are doing Bhakti Shastri, some of us, we are doing Bhakti Shastri with Ikshwaku Prabhu, and he's teaching us. We are learning so much. He's such an expert teacher, and he's teaching us for our lifelong learning and not just for the matter of getting this certificate, a Bhakti Shastri certificate. So in chapter 7, at the moment now we are on the section 2 of Bhagavad Gita, which is divided into 3 sections. And in chapter 7, the text 1, the chapter 7 is entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. And in text 1, Krishna is telling Arjuna, just listen, tat shrinu. So shrinvatam, the root word shrinu, means just hear, just try to hear. And also in chapter 9, he says, just listen, just hear me. So the emphasis is on the hearing process, that we can only make progress, and all our devotional service is watered by this hearing process. Whatever service we do, it's through knowledge, knowledge of the absolute truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we have knowledge about Him, that sustains our devotional creeper, and we are able to keep going on. Just like if we have a relationship with someone, just like here we have Indranila and her daughter Nadia. So if there's no love and she doesn't get to know her daughter, where is there a question of serving her daughter, or where is the question of Nadia serving her mom if she doesn't get to know what her mom likes on Mother's Day or on the birthday? There's a loving exchange. So you get to know someone by hearing from them also. So similarly in Krishna consciousness, we get to know about Krishna through the hearing process. And we have some examples also from Bhagavatam that only by hearing, even without seeing the person, that we fall in love with the person. And the classic example is Krishna's first wife, Rukmini. The sages, the holy sages would visit her kingdom because she was a princess, and the sages would visit the kingdom, and then they would come to the kingdom and share their wisdom about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to the king and all the citizens of the kingdom. So she would also hear about Krishna and his transcendental qualities, and she fell in love with him just by hearing about him. So in these days, there's the emphasis like also movie stars or sports stars or singers, and you look at their photos and you fall in love with them. But here is showing how you fall in love with the qualities of the person, the character of the person. And that is what is the true attraction in the person. And Krishna, he's full in all the 6 opulences. So what are the 6 opulences Krishna's full in? Yeah, he has full renunciation. He's wealth. He has full wealth, full fortune, beauty, fame, all knowledge. So he's full in all the 6 opulences. And in the material world, we see examples that even us, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we also have the same qualities, that we looking also at beautiful people, but then it's misguided attraction, because the real attraction is towards Krishna, and only that can sustain us. And Prabhupada mentions in his Bhagavad Gita as it is, in the preface, that as it's also mentioned in this verse, that by hearing from authentic Vedic texts. So in the preface, Prabhupada mentions, because he's trying to emphasize that we can only approach authorized literature. And how do we approach that authorized literature? Is through the Guru Parampara, the authorized disciplic chain. So the disciplic chain is coming from Krishna down to his disciples, and then so we are getting this knowledge going from our spiritual master to Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada, he's heard from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then the disciplic chain is going on, and then it goes directly to Krishna. So this knowledge is descending to us. So we need to hear from the authorized person and from the authorized literature. And we need that threefold check. It's not that we blindly follow. We need Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So when we read, we can hear who we can follow. We can assess and also understand that, okay, this person is following, I can follow this person. So it's not that we blindly follow. We also, Prabhupada wanted all of us to be independently thoughtful. And the emphasis is on the hearing process. Tat Shrinu. I was listening to, before I give that example, there's also another example of hearing, how hearing earns us, sincerely hearing and applying this knowledge, we gain the mercy of the Lord. And the example is in Caitanya Caritamrita, there was an illiterate Brahmana. So he was literate in some way or another. He wasn't fully literate, so he could read like broken, like how we read, maybe someone can read broken English. So he could read a little bit. He wasn't fully illiterate, but he was referred to as the illiterate Brahmana. And his spiritual master instructed him to read Bhagavad Gita every day. So he was trying to read Bhagavad Gita, and then the people were laughing at him because he couldn't read properly and it was broken reading. And but he had tears in his eyes, and one day in South India, Lord Chaitanya was passing by South India. Then he asked him, "Why are you crying?" And then he said, "It's because when I see how Krishna has become the chariot driver, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has become the chariot driver of Arjuna, it brings tears to my eyes." So by his sincerely following his spiritual master and trying to apply this knowledge, Lord Chaitanya actually embraced him. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. So he earned the mercy of the Supreme Lord just by his sincerely following this process and trying to apply it. So this absolute knowledge, we need to, it's not just also hearing, but it's application as well. And that shows our sincerity. Is the example we hear sometimes is that if the spiritual master is asking for a glass of water and the disciple thinks, "Oh, milk is more superior, let me give my spiritual master milk." But the spiritual master is not asking for milk, he's asking for water. So it's also application of what the spiritual master is saying. Not that we show our erudite scholarship or our knowledge and understanding and think we know better than the spiritual master. Even Lord Chaitanya showed by his personal example that he behaved like a fool in front of his spiritual master, even though he's the Supreme Lord. He's showing by his example coming in the form of a devotee to show the etiquette and mood of how to approach this Vedic knowledge through humility. And not that he was always humble. When the time came, he also showed his erudition, but in the proper way. Just like the example when there was the Vijay Pandit, he came and he was wanted to defeat all the scholars, because in the olden days they were great scholars and they travel all the different kingdoms and they would defeat them and they would show their supremacy over them. And then Lord Chaitanya defeated this Vijay Pandit, who was the winner in all the different places he went to, all the different kingdoms. And then his disciples, Lord Chaitanya's disciples, started laughing because Lord Chaitanya had defeated this Vijay Pandit, and Lord Chaitanya immediately stopped them. And then he corrected and chastised the Digvijay Pandit in privacy. So there's also, when we read the Bhagavatam, we read the Caitanya Caritamrita, there's so many layers and layers of understanding and etiquette involved. When we, with humility and sincerity, we follow, we can see that there's so much knowledge. And when one gains so much knowledge, they become laden like a heavy fruit. The example is that when the fruit is heavy on the tree, does it hang high or it goes low? The heavy fruit, it hangs low, isn't it? So the example is that when one is heavy with knowledge, he becomes more and more humble, and becomes more and more compassionate to share this knowledge and to guide the misguided people in the correct direction. So there's always layers and layers of understanding, of application, applying the etiquette, not correcting someone in public, and sometimes if someone is offending another devotee, then we can immediately chastise them even if there are others around. So there's so many layers and nuances of this practice. And by sincerely following and hearing and applying this knowledge, our heart and our mind gradually becomes purified. And also, when in talking about following the authentic literatures, which is also in this verse, and following the disciplic succession, Prabhupada also in the preface mentions about the Mayavadis. So there's also a caution of hearing from unauthorized sources. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.12 purport, it talks about how milk is very nourishing when we drink milk. But when a snake drinks that milk, the poison of that snake goes inside that milk. So if we drink that milk, even though it's nourishing, we become poisoned. So that's like spiritual suicide, a spiritual death. So we have to be so careful of not hearing about this knowledge from professional people. So how does this apply to us in this day and age? We see that there are many kirtan groups that have popped up. There's even someone whose name is also has Krishna in his name, but he doesn't follow any of the practices. And then he sings even this Hare Krishna mantra, or he sings this, and there are many others. So when we listen to people who are not following, then our heart becomes contaminated. And actually it's like taking an empty capsule. You're taking a pill, some medicine, and you're taking it, you keep taking it, but it's empty. There's no medicine in it. It's not acting. So even though the holy name is so powerful, we are also cautioned by Srila Prabhupada and the previous teachers not to hear from people who are not sincerely following. So even though we may follow, like speaking for myself, I'm sitting here, but I'm not qualified, but I'm trying to follow my spiritual master. And in that there is, the Prabhupada also mentions in the preface, his credit goes to his spiritual master, because he's only trying to follow the instructions of his spiritual master. So even though we are not perfect, but we try to follow the process and the instructions of our spiritual master, then we are carried. So Krishna says, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. So we all have this free will that we can choose to follow Krishna, and just whatever knowledge we have, we sincerely try to follow. So we are many different devotees in this Krishna consciousness movement. We come from so many different backgrounds. We are on different levels of our Krishna consciousness. But we are all here together, unity in diversity. So we look at other devotees who are more progressed in their spiritual life, and we look to them for inspiration. And then we see how we can apply this knowledge in our personal life where we are at. So we need to be introspective and honest with ourselves that this is where I am. I'm inspired by how this devotee is serving in this way or that way, and how can I also make progress. So even devotees who are maybe more progressed in devotional life, they also look to devotees who are coming new or the younger devotees, and they so inspired by their enthusiasm. So we can help each other and keep progressing in this devotional life, and the key is association. Never leave the association of devotees. And here in the association of devotees, in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 4 important verses, the Chatur Slokis, and especially 10.9. Who knows the verse 10.9? Yes, thank you, Krishna Pavana. Machita madkata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my devotees are fully dedicated to me, and they engage in transcendental loving service, and they derive great joy and satisfaction by always conversing about me. So we talk about Krishna in the association of devotees, and we gain great transcendental satisfaction and bliss from talking about Krishna. And in 10.9 purport, it talks about how the seeds are sown. So the seeds are, analogy is given like the seeds are compared to devotional service. So when the seeds are sown in the heart by Shravanam and Kirtanam in the association of devotees, and the example is given here of a boy and girl, naturally there is that attraction and that pleasure derived from that association. So that pleasure we derive from devotional service by associating with devotees and hearing in the association of devotees and talking about Krishna. So that is so important, and then we become like a fish out of water, that we can't survive without being in the association of devotees, without hearing about Krishna. Naturally, the lower qualities, they go away. Just like in this day and age, there's so many self-help gurus, and you have to pay so many thousands and thousands of dollars. But in the Krishna consciousness movement, we have so many self-help gurus, and we don't need to pay so many thousands and thousands of dollars. But in saying that, if we have thousands and thousands of dollars, we can give and donate to furthering this Krishna consciousness movement. So we have also devotees like Vaisheshika Prabhu and S.P. Keshava Swami. I often listen to their classes. And I was listening to this one class, S.P. Keshava Swami. He has a podcast, and he also has a YouTube page called Wisdom That Breathes. So there's one class he was talking about time. And he says that some people say, I don't have time to hear. But he said some things are so important that we have to make time. Just like people have time to go out and hang out with their friends, we go to the cinema, or we go to on a picnic once a week and that. But this transcendental knowledge is so important. We're doing all these things, but at the end of the life, what do we have to show for it? We have to come back to this material world, but whatever devotional service we have done, it will carry us on to the next life. And if we stop at 60%, we can continue on in our next life at 61%. So whatever we do in the spiritual bank account, there's no loss. But whatever we do in the material world, we keep withdrawing. The example given in Bhagavad Gita is like the Ferris wheel. It goes up and down. So in this material world, we have good reactions and bad reactions, the karmic reactions. So yesterday, Deva Gaurahari Prabhu, he gave a class on reincarnation. So whatever good things or bad things we do, we have to come back again in our next life and reap either the rewards or suffer the consequences of our bad actions. But it's just like a Ferris wheel. You keep going up and down. You take birth. If you did good things, you're up there on the Ferris wheel. But once you we finish up our pious credits, the bank account, we lose our money, we come down again. So in this material world, it's a vicious cycle. We're coming back again and again, taking birth, getting disease. Even though we live in a very opulent country or place, like here we're living in Australia, it's compared to Hawaii, we have good weather, nice fruits and vegetables, so much abundant things, but we all still suffer. We are here in Australia, all of us. Who can say that we don't feel sadness? We don't feel pain if we fall down or get hurt? No one. So why not invest a little bit of time for Krishna? Because that will carry us. That will never be vanquished. And it will carry us forward. Gradually become more and more purified, just like an onion has many layers. And when we keep removing the layers, the heart becomes more and more purified, and our mind becomes purified, and we can go back home, back to Krishna, and we can live there eternally. We don't have to suffer from birth, disease, old age, and disease. We are there eternally youthful, eternally blissful, and we are always serving Krishna with love. So the emphasis is on hearing and making time to hear. Even if we can't make it, we are so fortunate. We have Nandu, also Krishna Bhavana's son, Nandu. He has set up this classes we can listen to on the ISKCON New Govardhana on YouTube. We can listen to the classes, and also we have so many classes on ISKCON Desire Tree, so many followers of Srila Prabhupada and the grand disciples. So we can make time every day to try to listen at least one class a day, or read even one sentence. We go to Bhakti Shastri, and ISKCON Prabhu also reminds us that Prabhupada emphasized that even one word is so powerful, like Shrinu. Shrinu means hear. That one word carries so much in it. We can remember that one word, we can remember that that's hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. We can remember how Rukmini just heard about Krishna and she fell in love with him. We can remember that just by hearing the instructions of his spiritual master, that the illiterate Brahmana, he got the mercy of Lord Caitanya because he was sincerely trying to follow. So by sincerely following, hearing, and sincerely trying to apply this knowledge wherever we are at, then we can make progress. It's not like the example we have in the hare and the tortoise. So the rabbit, he thinks, I'm so fast, let me take a rest. And the tortoise gradually, slowly, he makes progress and he wins the race. So it's not that we are in this rat race. We look at others for inspiration and we make progress, but we also be honest with ourselves, be introspective that this is where I am and I need to lay the strong foundation and not try to jump ahead of myself. Just like a building, if we have a strong foundation, that even if an earthquake comes and it's on a very high scale, on the Richter scale, then the foundation is strong, the building won't collapse. But if we try to cheat and we try to jump ahead, sometimes now also with the social media, it has its advantages and disadvantages. People may take one photo and they can present themselves like I'm doing so much, but they did it once in 10 years or something. In saying that, whatever spiritual assets we have, there's no loss, but we always need to be introspective that Krishna is the witness in the heart. He knows our intentions. So we try to gradually make progress, try to follow this process, build that strong foundation, and then at the end of the year, S.P. Swami, he gave this very powerful class looking back on 2023, and then he mentioned about life quakes. We have so many life quakes, so if we don't have that strong foundation and we build up so many life achievements, so many accolades, we amass so much material assets, buy so much property, get so much knowledge and education. In saying that, it's not that we don't also accumulate that. We also engage according to our nature. If we have that propensity for business or we have that intellectual mind, we can utilize that, go to university and use it in Krishna's service. But if we don't use it in Krishna's service, and if problems come, you have the high skyriser, skyscraper building of material accolades, and then when the life quake comes and the foundation is not strong, the whole building collapses, it's all finished. And then we can't take our material achievements in our next life. But what we can carry, what we have, the spiritual assets, they will never be finished. So speaking also to myself, let's take advantage of what, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he has given us, brought this knowledge, and it's spreading far and wide just by his giving this transcendental knowledge and his disciples sincerely hearing and following it. There are so many centers and so many temples around the world, and so many people are still joining just by this hearing process. So we are so fortunate, we have everything here. We have all the books, the temple is here. We have the advantage. Let's take advantage of it. So, we have so many facilities. But also one other example that senior devotees also speak about is we can bring a horse to water, but we can't force it to drink. So let's be introspective. We are all brought here to the water, but it's our choice whether we drink that water. So let's take full advantage of this and stay in the association of devotees. It says there that even someone who is in the highest in this purport, Prabhupada says that even if someone is in the mode of goodness, they can also be contaminated by the mode of passion and ignorance. So when we stay in the association of devotees, we stay strong. Prabhupada gives the examples of a bunch of sticks. If they all bunched up together and you try to snap it, it's very difficult to snap. And that's the association of devotees. But if we alone and we think we can achieve something on our own, even if it's spiritual knowledge, and then it can snap very easily. So the power is in the association of devotees. Keep hearing, keep trying to sincerely follow, try to be introspective, and try to look at others for inspiration and help each other in Krishna consciousness. And we are all conditioned, we have our different natures. It's not that everyone is going to be working like everyone's a body. And even in the spiritual world, there's different camps. We have Radharani's camp and there's Chandravali's camp. But there's unity in diversity, that everyone is there for the pleasure of Krishna and they're not pushing anyone else down. So this funny example is on unity in diversity. S.P. Keshava Swami was saying that he was at one temple and it was the marathon, the Christmas marathon, and there was a big competition. And there was a competition and the highest book distributor happened to be one lady, one Mataji and one Prabhu. So they were competing with each other. So the other one was saying, I'm going to stay out really late and win. So he placed himself strategically so that he can watch that Mataji. If she leaves, then I can leave after her. So I get the highest book scores. So when he came back to the temple, he didn't see her. Then first thing he asked at the reception was, how many books did that person do? So he was saying funny is that we shouldn't lose our focus and our goal. That where's the unity? The unity is when we are doing it for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And if we lose it and thinking, okay, for myself, or I did these scores, or I did this service. So even on the spiritual path, we have to be so cautious. And how do we notice that? Is when we stay in the Sangha, the association of devotees, and we make ourselves available to at least one person that we accept instructions and we take guidance from. Vaisheshika Prabhu gives a very important lesson that we should always live to be corrected. If someone says something, you can say, I live to be corrected. Someone of his caliber is talking that he lives to be corrected. Then we can take some guidance from that none of us is perfect. It's not that obviously we go around correcting everyone. If we have a loving relationship with someone and we see that they're doing something wrong and they are like Krishna Bhavana, she sometimes corrects her son Nandu, and we can all see that it's a loving exchange because she has his good intentions at heart. So she's showing him an example, like we went to Bhakti Shastri and Ikshvaku Prabhu asked for the whiteboard eraser. And then she said, you go and you wipe the board for him. So as a loving mother, she's teaching him by serving the teacher, the spiritual master, the guru, we can make progress. So we always need to be introspective and at least have one person that we are willing to take guidance from, to take instruction from. Not like, you have someone where everyone's afraid of saying anything to that person, even though it's so obvious to the whole society, the whole community of devotees, that this person is not doing right, but everyone's afraid to. They back away because we shouldn't be in that situation, that we are in that position that no one can correct us and we think we're doing everything right. So at least have one person that we go to do a check for ourselves, that how do you think I'm going, or I interact with this and this is what happened, this is what I said, this is what they said, in privacy, and then what do you think? So and be willing to take chastisement and correction from that person. So I'll end there. I'll read the translation again. In the Vaikuntha planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original person and who can be understood through the Vedic literature. He is full of the uncontaminated mode of goodness, with no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes religious progress for his devotees. If anyone has any questions, comments, corrections. Krishna Bhavana.
Thank you so much, Mother Vaishnavi.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to acknowledge Vishnujan Prabhu. He actually began the YouTube channel and started videoing, filming the classes.
Yeah.
And Nandu just started helping him a bit, and he very patiently gave time and taught him how to do it, And that's this the glory of a nice devotee community, that they patiently give time to everybody and teach them with so much tolerance, and they tolerate all the shortcomings.
Yeah.
Same as Ajita Prabhu, how much he has to deal with with all these young people who aren't experienced, who are learning on the go.
Yes.
So yeah, those two people have done so many wonderful things for my boys, and everyone's kids, and us, and you, and me. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. You very kindly were praising me, which I don't deserve. So I wanted to let you know where it actually comes from.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you Vishnujan Prabhu and Nandu for both. They are establishing this ability to touch Srinu, for us to hear this transcendental knowledge. So even if we're not here, we can still hear. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. I was going to ask, how does spiritual anxiety come into that when you say Vaikuntha is meant to be free from anxieties?
So in the material world, when we have anxiety, we get sick and we make mistakes. Sometimes when we're stressed out and we have anxiety, or someone's doing a big project, even the simplest things, we make a mistake. Whereas in spiritual anxiety, we're doing it because we want to please our guru, we want to please Krishna. So we are not, our consciousness is not contaminated. It's actually elevating us and purifying us. So when we take on responsibility, often when senior devotees also visit, Devamrita Swami visits, and he's looking around, who is taking responsibility for this Krishna consciousness movement? So when we take responsibility, we do get anxiety. Of course, we are in the material world. But when we take that anxiety for a higher purpose than ourselves, then we are actually becoming purified. Our consciousness is becoming purified. Even though externally it seems like also we may also get physically sometimes sick, and we may need to take some care. But that anxiety we take is actually purifying it. But when we have anxiety for our own sense gratification, that is degrading our consciousness and also entangling us more in the shackles of this material world. We're getting more bound and bound, just like we're amassing so many material things. But if it's not in connection with Krishna, we're just getting more and more bound in this engagement of this material world, have to keep coming back in this material world, the Spirit's wheel.
So if we weren't contaminated, we wouldn't have the anxiety in that situation? Because we would
No,
already be
there's
pure.
still anxiety. So it's also a gradual thing, like, when a child is learning at school, when they're learning 1 + 1 = 2, but then when they go to higher levels, they also understand on the scale there's also negative numbers or positive numbers and things like that. So we are on learning, but when we gradually learn more and more, we understand that Vaikuntha means no material anxiety. But when we go to the spiritual world, there's anxiety. You think Mother Yashoda, she has so much anxiety. She's churning the milk, and the milk is boiling over on the pot. And she's anxiety because I have anxiety because that milk, special milk that I have fed the special grass for Krishna, has a special flavor, is for Krishna's pleasure. So she still has that anxiety because she wants to feed Krishna that nice milk. But it's all ever increasing because it's all for Krishna's pleasure. So as we gradually make progress, we understand. So in the beginning, when someone comes, we're not going to tell them, oh, devotional life is hard work. We're not going to tell them this. So eat, drink, and be merry. Fill your stat. Like Prabhupada came, he says, eat till you waddle like a duck. In the beginning when they come, first 6 months, and someone say, what, first 6 months, first 6 years? Sometimes some people still keep eating and waddling like a duck. So as we gradually make progress, we start understanding these deeper layers and nuances in spiritual life. But everything is connected to Krishna. When it's connected to Krishna, even though, because in the material world, it's a reflection of the spiritual world. So whatever everything's here is a perverted reflection. Just like the example of the banyan tree in Bhagavad Gita, it says, when you look at a tree on the edge of a lake, it looks like the branches are up and the roots are down. The roots are up and the branches are down. So in the material world, it's a perverted reflection because it's not connected to Krishna. But when it's connected to Krishna, everything we have here is also there. There is variety, just like there's activity. We have a form, but it's not a material form. So everything's there in the spiritual world, but in its pure form. Yeah, I hope that helps. Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.